Full of hope, Hanuman alighted and set foot in Lanka. But soon the flush of triumph at the accomplishment of the journey gave place to sober thinking. He reflected, "True, I have crossed the sea, but that is only the beginning of my mission. There on Mount Trikut stands Ravan's magnificent city, as if suspended in the sky. How beautiful, how wealthy, and how well secured it is! The city and the fortress are not inferior to the heavenly city Amaravati. The lovely groves, the elegant buildings, the engines of defense, the deep moats, all these fill me with much admiration, but also with greater concern. Who can attack and vanquish this Ravan? How can an army cross the sea which I have just crossed? Even if it crosses it and reaches this shore, how can it attack and bring down this fortress? For it is defended by bullocks manned by well-armed warriors. Neither guile nor force can bring it down. But first, I must find out whether Sita is alive or not. Other questions can wait. Now, when and how can I best enter this well-guarded city? I have to search it thoroughly if I am to discover the place where Sita is kept. If I thoughtlessly do something wrong now, this error would be irretrievable, and a great purpose would fail because of haste or negligence on my part. If I enter the city by day, it will be noticed by the Rakshasas. So it will be best if I go in at night. But in what shape shall I go? To ward off suspicion, I must put on a trivial, inconspicuous form. Accordingly, he shrank to the size of a little monkey, no bigger than that of a cat. To enter and search the palaces and parks of this vast city, this form would be most convenient. By now the sun had set. Hanuman walked towards the fortress gate. The moon shone brightly, and Hanuman was glad and grateful for this help in his search. Even from a distant view, Hanuman wondered at the wealth and beauty displayed in Ravan's capital. The streets and mansions were bright with flags and festoons, and glittered with gold and precious gems. The breeze blew gently from the sea. Like the cities of the gods, Ravan's capital had attained the peak of prosperity. The messenger of Ram was filled with wonder and anxiety as to how to overcome the master of such wealth and military power. As he was walking along in amazement and anxiety, he was rudely accosted by the terrible-looking guardian goddess of the city.
"Who are you, little monkey? How did you manage to come here, and why are you here at all? Speak the truth."
"Yes, I am indeed a little monkey, and I have come here to look at this beautiful city. I shall go back after I have gone round and seen everything and satisfied my curiosity." The goddess then struck an angry blow at the monkey. Hanuman returned the blow carelessly with his left hand, and it doubled her up with agony, causing her to fall to the ground. But soon she got up and remembered the prophecy that when a monkey should strike and throw her down, the city she guarded would be destroyed. She said to herself,
"Ravan's sins are many and grievous. The end of Lanka is approaching. The word of the gods is about to be fulfilled."
And she stood aside. Hanuman climbed over the wall and jumped into the city. It was part of the ancient code of warfare that one should not enter the enemy's fortress through the regular gate, but should make his entry in an out-of-the-way manner. Vowing that the Rakshasas should be destroyed, he entered the fortress of Lanka with his left foot foremost, for that meant defeat for the enemy. He went along the royal street, which was strewn with beautiful flowers. Like lightning shining through the clouds, the buildings shone against the sky. Clambering up the mansions and going along their roofs, he admired the beauty of the city. The Rakshas's mansions, streets, and decorations shone with ineffable beauty. The sounds of cultivated and correct music were heard. Lovely women moved about to the accompaniment of tinkling anklets. The city was filled with sounds indicating a full and joyous life. In some houses, mantras were being chanted. In some others, Vedic chants were heard. In others, songs celebrating the heroic exploits and glory of Ravan were being sung. Soldiers and scouts were everywhere. In the streets there were people who were dedicated to particular religious practices and vows. There were others who were cruel in looks and ugly. The guards were armed with bows, swords, cudgels, slings, lances, and other weapons. All the warriors were clad in armor. Some were handsome, some ugly, and complexions varied from fair to brown to black. Some figures were very tall, others very short. Thus Hanuman saw that the population had been drawn from a wide area with varying climates, and that the army had been recruited from the very best men of many nations. He examined mansion after mansion. He saw women of exquisite beauty, some of them in the company of their husbands, and others by themselves. He saw many young damsels, bright and beautiful, like images of molten gold. Some were seated on the terraces, others were sleeping in their beds. Some were playing, others singing. Innumerable beautiful women he saw, but not Sita pining for Ram. The sight of so much beauty only filled Hanuman's heart with disappointment and sadness. He entered and examined the homes of many Rakshasas. There were war elephants, purebred horses, chariots, and armories. Soldiers stood fully armed. After passing through many mansions and gardens filled with merriment and music, he came to a great palace that stood high in a nobility of splendor far transcending all the magnificent buildings around. Looking at the elephants, horses, and foot soldiers in front, the high walls surrounding it, the beauty of its structure, and the richness of its decorations, he concluded that this was Ravan's own palace, the central glory of splendid Lanka. He entered this palace. It was in every way a heaven on earth, worthy of Ravan's peerless power and glory. The park, the birds sporting there, the shrines scattered here and there, filled Hanuman with wonder. And he said to himself, "What wealth, what beauty, and what pleasure!" He was for a while lost in amazement, but soon he recollected that he had not yet found Sita. Admiration gave place to concern over the yet unfulfilled purpose for which he had come. Passing through many mansions, he entered the innermost private apartment of Ravan. He was almost overcome with the luxury and richness of its apartments, which made it look the very abode of the gods. Everywhere was gold and silver, ivory, gems, pearls, and beautiful carpets and furniture. And in their midst he saw the aerial chariot. It was a magic vehicle obtained from Lord Brahma by Kubera, the god of wealth. Vanquishing Kubera, Ravan brought it to Lanka as his booty. From the aerial car, one could get anything one desired. Ravan's chamber, which Hanuman now entered, was a very ocean of delight. Countless lovely women lay sleeping in the spacious chamber, some linked arm in arm, and all scantily clad. They manifested the careless attitudes of sleep, making the place look like a garden of bright flower-laden creepers. With his senses controlled by virtue, Hanuman looked at all these sleeping women, each more beautiful than the other, and each filled with joy and love, to see if any of them could be Sita. Ravan's power to take whatever form he wanted and to please all his women was evident from the sight of these lovely damsels. Hanuman pulled himself together reproachfully at his own folly in supposing for a moment that Sita could be in that sensual paradise of pleasure-happy damsels. He reflected, "It is certain that Sita is not in this crowd. What a fool I am to search for her in this company. She would never allow herself in here." Then he went elsewhere. In another chamber he saw many beds. He saw one more gorgeous than the rest, covered with gold and diamonds, and Ravan stretched on it, like another Mount Meru. His form and majestic splendor made even Hanuman tremble for a moment. He stood on one side and scanned the sleeping figure, unable for a time to take his eyes off the majestic and virile beauty of that mighty form, the great muscles now in repose, the symmetrical grace of limbs which made the Rakshasa king at once beautiful and terrible. Then Hanuman looked at the women in the beds around and on the carpets. Some who had fallen asleep while singing were still hugging their musical instruments. His eyes finally fell on a figure lying on a divinely beautiful cot. The shapeliness of her limbs and the beauty of her features made Hanuman imagine it might be Sita, so he leaped up with joy. The next instant he cursed himself for his folly. "No, no, how foolish I have been! Could Sita sleep thus carelessly, covered with jewels in a stranger's chamber? The very thought is a sin." And he was overwhelmed with shame and sorrow at his error. Then he said to himself, "Because she would not yield to him, this Rakshasa must have killed her. Then what use is there in continuing the search?" He had now searched the inner apartments of Ravan's palace, the bedroom, the dining room, drinking room, the music room. All places had been searched, and Sita could not be found. "I have entered every nook and corner. Against all the rules of propriety, I have even looked at everyone in the women's chambers, but all in vain." Saying this, he left the drinking room, went to the garden, and looked into the little shrines and the arbors made of creepers, but all in vain. He thought with irrepressible grief, "I have seen all Lanka. I have seen every inch of Ravan's palace. What more could I do here? Am I to return without seeing Sita? No, I shall rather end my life here. Yes, that is the only thing for me to do." But again he said to himself, "Curses on me for yielding to such despondency, which is unworthy and dishonorable." He sprang up again and searched once more every inch of the places he had been through. He opened every door and window and looked in. There were ugly women and beautiful human maidens, all captured by the Rakshasa, but not Sita. Once again his heart sank. He did not know what to do. He said to himself, "If I return to Kishkinda failing in my mission, how shall I be able to face my friends? If Ram loses all hope of recovering Sita, what would happen to him? He would surely die, and after that, what would happen to others? Instead of going back to Sugriv and telling him that all my labors have been wasted, it would be far better to stay here and spend the rest of my days in the forest and on the seashore of Lanka. But why live on? Is it not best to end my life? But then, was Sampati wrong in saying that Sita was in Lanka? Or has she been killed by Ravan, since Sampati sighted her on this island? She might well have been devoured by the Rakshasas. Oh, nothing is clear. Everything is enveloped in doubt. So, what shall I do? Thus Hanuman was lost in anxiety and thought. But just then, his eyes lighted on what he had so far left unexplored, a park attached to a shrine and surrounded by high walls. Oh, I have not seen or searched this place so far. Maybe I shall find Sita here. With these words, as the son of Vayu meditated on Ram, hope sprang into his heart. The secluded park was well protected by high walls. Yes, Sita must be here. Again he bowed to the gods. He jumped up and sat on the wall and surveyed the beautiful park.